Coming to you from the Black Swan Media Studios, this is Fireside Chats, talking to the real difference makers in the world. Now, here is your host, John Crump.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Crump. I am the Virginia Director for Gun Owners of America, which makes me very nervous to have my guest on today. From Gun Owners of America, I'm also a writer at MLN.com. We are brought to you by our new sponsor, TUSC. If you don't know what TUSC is a digital cryptocurrency that is made specifically for the gun industry. Not only that, it also does transactions a lot faster than the traditional like Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of those. It's just very, very fast and it's real time, and they support the gun industry. So let's go ahead and support them. Today, I am joined by someone who actually recruited me to GOA. So I am very, very nervous about this interview. Hopefully it goes well. I hope it does. If not, he'll fire me, and that would be bad. But his name is Jordan Stein. What is up, Jordan?
Hey, John, how are you? I don't think I had the power to fire you, but I know GOA is very grateful to have you on our side.
Yeah, we've been fighting the battle here, and you are fighting the battle as well. This whole interview tonight is going to be about one issue mostly, and that is Georgia. I see Flying Rich out there. He's in Florida, so maybe he can make the trip up to Georgia. I see Gorilla and Guns out there. Shooting Gallery New England, Flying Rich, Guns and Barbecue, and all you guys can sign up at gunowners.org/volunteer and do your part to help us win the battle in Georgia. So, Jordan, how is it going down in Georgia?
It's going pretty good. I did a little bit of door knocking today. Got a lot of things set up for phone calls. And I think we will. We're really going to be kicking things up here in the next few days, next few weeks, and really getting out the word and getting out the vote for Lafner and Perdue. You know what? And I guess one question is, why am I here in Georgia and not, back home and enjoying this fall weather, maybe doing a little hunting? Well, you look at the Senate and how the elections have turned out, right? As things look now with the presidential election, obviously there's a lot of drama surrounding that. But it looks like Biden is going to be our president, sadly. Which means Kamala Harris is the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, right? So, and the way the Senate elections have turned out, there are 50 Republican seats and 48 Democrat seats, with the 2 undecided seats here in Georgia. So that means the whole balance of power will be decided by these 2 runoff elections in Georgia. So I've spent the last week here in Georgia, door knocking, getting out the vote, and doing a lot of campaigning here to that end, to elect the pro-gun candidates Kelly Lafler and David Perdue, and keep the anti-gunners from controlling the Senate.
Yeah, one of the things we have to realize is that the Bloomberg crowd, as I like to call them, are dumping tons of money into Georgia. I've been monitoring the different organizations on both sides for my job at Amaland, and it's insane the amount of money that's being poured into Georgia by the anti-gun side. On the ground, how does it look when you go door knocking? Are you going into the Democratic areas? Are you just trying to get out the Republican vote? Are you trying to switch anyone?
Well, what GOA is doing, we're taking a very targeted approach. We are targeting not only just the hardcore gun owners who are on our side, making sure they're going to get out the vote, but we're also targeting pro-gun Democrats and pro-gun independents, because we realize that the campaigns of the Republican Party, they're going to hit their base. They're going to hit the typical Republican conservative voter. But that's why we're hitting these people out on the edges that may not necessarily be targeted by us or by the traditional efforts. So, I've knocked on some liberals' doors, and we've had some interesting conversations, and I've knocked on some very pro-gun, solid people. So it's encouraging when you knock on a pro-gunner's door and you get out the word. And some people it's really hard to read, but we're doing the best we can. I guarantee you that.
Okay, I wanted to go through some of the candidates here. The first Republican candidate I want to touch on is Kelly Lafner. She is running in a very, very hard race against Warnock. We'll get into Warnock in a second here, but I just wanted to highlight some of the things. She has an A+ rating with GOA and an A rating with the NRA. She's endorsed by both GOA and NRA. Here's the thing. When she got elected, I was initially very afraid of her because I'm going to be honest, she's donated to some anti-gun politicians through her ownership of the WNBA team. But she's been very, very pro-gun. She co-sponsored bills for national reciprocity, removing suppressors from the NFA, and restoring veterans' rights. She hasn't voted for one gun control law at all. No red flag laws, no nothing. Was that a surprise to you how pro-gun she was when she got in? Or were you expecting?
Kelly Loeffler has been a very pleasant surprise in the Senate. Because I was kind of with you when she was appointed, to replace an outgoing senator. Well, this gal, she's probably not that conservative, not that pro-gun. Maybe she doesn't get it, but she's been very outspoken. When rogue agents at the ATF did their October surprise on the honey badger, she wrote a letter to the ATF essentially calling them out. She's been a fighter, and I think she's definitely deserving of Georgians' votes this fall in this election. Because she's proved her salt in the Senate in her short time.
Yeah, and honestly, she's been more pro-gun than what she needs to be. What I mean by that is she's been more pro-gun than would get her base fired up. So that's kind of cool. She's running against a guy named Raphael Warnock. Raphael Warnock is definitely anti-gun. In fact, when he was a minister, he used his pulpit to actually preach against guns. He's also said some really crazy things, like you can't serve in the military and serve God at the same time. So he also has an F- rating from GOA, which I didn't know was even possible. But he got it. Talk to us a little bit about Warnock, her opponent.
Well, Warnock is a pastor who I would not attend church with. I think he is severely out of touch with the normal American. He's a guy who says he thinks Marxists are good people. And that's just not someone who we need representing us in the Senate. Marxist is a radical anti-gun thought process, a belief system that I think goes against the founding of our country. He is a radical. He may not campaign like it. He might campaign as a moderate, but he's truly a radical that wants to transform our country into something our founders never would have thought of.
Yeah, he also did some campaigning or did something in the past with Jeremiah Wright. If you don't know who that is, that's the guy who said, "God damn America." And the chicken has come home to roost when he's talking about 9/11. Not surprisingly, Warnock has been endorsed by Everytown for Gun Safety, Giffords, and Brady, which are three of the biggest anti-gun groups ever. And Moms Demand Action has been out actively campaigning and door knocking for him. So that's why we need to get people down there to actually door knock for us and to campaign. Okay, the second race is David Perdue, who is the senior Republican from Georgia. And he's vowed not to pass any new gun laws. And he's pushed back against attempts by Democrats to introduce so-called assault weapons bans and to remove protections for the gun industry. Because one of the things that Democrats wanted to do was allow ammunition companies and gun companies to be sued. We saw what happened to Bushmaster and everything because of that. So he is the Republican. He got an A from GOA and an A from NRA. He's endorsed by GOA and NRA. And you should really vote for him. Talk to us a little bit about David Perdue.
He's another Second Amendment leader in the Senate. We can always depend on him to do the right thing. And, when you look at him compared to John Ossoff, boy, is there a stark difference. Warnock might be hiding some things in his campaign, but Ossoff on the gun issue is not. You look at his website, and you would think you're reading the Moms Demand Action website. It's red flag laws, AR-15 bans, and eventual confiscation. He is a gun control darling, and definitely not someone we need in the Senate, John Ossoff.
Yeah, he supports mandatory buybacks. I'm not really sure how you can buy something you never owned. I want to go to the government because I want a Abrams tank, and I'm going to tell them I'm buying it back and hand them $300, and hopefully they hand me their tank. That's how crazy it is. Of course, he's taken tons of money from anti-gun groups. One of his leading contributors is Every Time for Gun Safety, and also a bunch of other Michael Bloomberg front groups. I call them Michael Bloomberg front groups because if you look at all of his donations, they come from gun groups, and when you look to see who the founders are, it's always Michael Bloomberg. So he definitely wants to help Biden pass their anti-gun legislation, which is, in my opinion, the most anti-gun slate of legislation any presidential candidate has ever even attempted to talk about. Which is
absolutely the Democrats. It used to be there were elected pro-gun Democrats, and I was talking about this on the Military Arms channel a couple of days ago. There are still pro-gun Democrats, out there, going around every day. And that's the people who we're knocking doors on. But when it comes to elected officials, a pro-gun Democrat is very few and far between. By and large, the Democrat Party has purposely abandoned the gun owners in their base, and they have pushed a radical gun control agenda. And they're not hiding it. Joe Biden was not hiding his gun control plan. I wish more gun owners could have looked at it and read his gun control plan before they cast a vote this past election, and maybe we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now. But they're telling you what they're going to do, and these Democrats are not like Republicans, right? They're not like Republicans who say you talk a good game and then do nothing once they're in the majority. These Democrats, they will follow through with their promises. That's why everything is at stake here in these Georgia elections, and that's why GOA is taking this seriously. And that's why we need people to help us. If you can go to that link on the screen, gunowners.org/volunteer, we will contact you to help out. If you can come to Georgia, that would be awesome. You can door knock with me and my team. If you can't, you can make phone calls. This election will be decided by voter turnout, and or voter contact, I should say. So the more people we can reach and get to the polls to vote pro-gun, the better chance we have of winning the election.
Yeah, I know a guy who spoke at a 2A rally that we both spoke at named Alan Bon Jovi. He was like the head of the Democratic Party of Fauquier County, and he's no longer the head of the Democratic Party of Fauquier County because he spoke out against Biden and his gun control plan, and now he's no longer associated with the Democratic Party. So if you're a pro-gun Democrat and they find out about it, you're basically going to get ostracized from every Democrat. The days of Zell Miller is over, unfortunately. I know there are some pro-gun Democrats out there, but the thing is, they're either not speaking up, or they're not being taken seriously, or there's not enough of them, and they're not getting involved in politics.
And it's such a shame. It's such a shame that the Second Amendment and the right to keep bearers has become such a partisan issue. It's really not. It's an issue that is fundamental to the human right, the God-given right of self-defense. And the way we do that now is, in modern days is with firearms, because they're the most effective tool to defend yourself. And this is really should not be such a political partisan issue, but sadly that's just where we're at right now. That's where the line is. And if gun owners and self-defenders sit this one out, our right to keep and bear arms will be, as we know it, will be erased.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that could happen, because I'm seeing a lot of comments about what are our thoughts about the magazine taxes and stuff like that. Some of the stuff that will be changed, and I believe will be changed, because Chuck Schumer, for example, he said that if President Trump got his pick of Amy Coney Barrett, who's an awesome judge on Second Amendment, that there will be hell to pay. And he meant that as a threat. And I'm going to take him at his word. A lot of people are saying, no, they would never do any of the things that they said they would do. It's all a threat, idle threat. And I don't believe that. I believe they actually mean what they said. The first thing that they're going to try to do is get rid of the legislative filibuster. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the legislative filibuster is?
So the filibuster, when it comes to the Senate rules, and I'll give the easy to understand version, is essentially letting debate on an issue and forcing a supermajority vote rather than a simple majority vote. It's been said that the Senate is the saucer that is supposed to cool the liquid of the House, right? The House can pass something over simple majority, and it's supposed to cool and mellow in the Senate, so we don't pass laws based off of emotion or irrational or just bad laws, right? So that's why we had this filibuster, and it's been around for ages. But what Schumer, and this has been a tool that GOA has used in the past by working with pro-gun senators, like Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, those type of guys, so they could filibuster against gun control. We used that in 2013 after the Sandy Hook shooting.
And that's the ban.
Yes. And that was a way that we could use to stop it. But now, Chuck Schumer wants to eliminate the filibuster. So you just need a simple majority. Right now, if we lose this election, a 50-50 split with Kamala Harris being the anti-gun tie-breaking vote, they could pass whatever they want. And, it's really a plan to redo our country in a way we've never seen, because not only do they want to, we're probably getting ahead of ourselves, but eliminate the filibuster, but they want to give statehood to DC and Puerto Rico, so pro-gunners can never again have a majority in the Senate, because DC and Puerto Rico are very blue liberal areas that would be two guaranteed Senate seats per jurisdiction, and then pro-gunners can never have a majority again, and then much less pass any pro-gun legislation, but we'd have a very hard time stopping it.
One of the things that people don't understand is, to get rid of the filibuster, it doesn't have to be done through legislation. It's a simple rule change. Chuck Schumer could go on the first day and say the filibuster's dead, and that's it. That's a rule change. Also, another thing that we lose track of is, if we have a Republican majority in the Senate, that Republican majority elects, like Mitch McConnell right now, the head of the Senate, and they can table stuff to prevent it from coming to the floor as well, which is another tool, and that's a tool that was meant to be used. One of the scary things about them eliminating the filibuster is that they can pack the court. Talk about what packing the court is.
So, for most of America's history, not all of it, but most of it, we've had 9 Supreme Court justices, and that's kind of been the number of judges we have. But what the anti-gunners want to do is, add more judges to the court to have an anti-gun majority on the court. Right now, some people say we have a 6-3 majority on the court. I think I would say we have a 5-4 pro-gun majority on the court. But, their antis are talking about adding as many as 5 judges to tilt that back in the anti-gun favor, so they can pass gun control. And then, of course, groups like GOA will challenge the gun control, and if it does get to the Supreme Court, they'll uphold the gun control laws that the anti-gunners passed. So again, they're trying to cement this radical changing of America, that where you have no right to defend yourself, no tool to effectively defend yourself, and our founders should seriously be rolling in their graves, because of the situation our country's in.
Yeah, we got a question from gun websites. He wants to know, are we going to be playing defense only in the near future, or are there options to push anything? And right now, I have an opinion on that, but let's hear your opinion.
Well,
kind of my boss.
Best case scenario, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Best case scenario is Lafler and Perdue win, and so we would have the 52-48 breakup in the Senate. And I, as much as I hate to say it, but we would be the Senate would act as a firewall against essentially anything the House or Biden would want to push, and they could stop the gun control. Now that's at the federal level. At the state level, I think there is time to push pro-gun things. Several states could pass constitutional carry or strengthen their stand their ground laws, or get rid of gun-free zones. So we could see victories at the state, certainly. But at the federal level, I think the best case scenario would be to be stopping gun control. Not that we should give up, right? GOA would always push for, say a vote on concealed carry reciprocity, or suppressor deregulation, or any of the pro-gun things we want to do. We always push for that, no matter for the majority or minority. But whether McConnell will take that up, or simply just stop everything, which would be, the least he could do, is sadly the political reality that we're in.
I think the political reality is that you're exactly right when it comes to the Senate, that we play defense on the national level because we have to. We have to play the hand, the cards that we are dealt, and that's the hand that we are dealt. So we have to play that hand. But there's other cases like Miller versus Becerra, or the bump stock case, that's working its way through the courts up to the Supreme Court. I know the Ninth Circuit, they're going to hear Miller Becerra en banc soon, and either way, that's getting appealed to the Supreme Court. But if we don't have the majority in the Senate, they're going to pack the Supreme Court, and then we're going to lose there too. If we hold on to the Senate and Miller v. Becerra gets to the Supreme Court, I can never say what the Supreme Court's going to do, but I do like our chances a hell of a lot more with the makeup of the court now than what it would be if they packed the court.
You're exactly right, John. If they can have more anti-gun judges on the court, there's just no way that we could stop it, sadly. And look, I know a lot of people say, well, a judge is supposed to be impartial and abide by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and the Second Amendment is clear, and and I agree, right? But you have these activist judges who reinterpret the right to keep and bear arms and say, oh, that's just for a militia. That's a collective right. What's that?
You said that in an amicus brief?
Kamala Harris said that in an amicus brief. And she's looking like she's going to be our vice president. So,
and if she's the vice president and the Democrats get 50, she's the tiebreaker. And she's already stated that she doesn't believe that it's an individual right to own a firearm, no matter what the Facebook fact checkers tell you. She said that. And she said that in an amicus brief. Not only did she sign, but she helped write in the Heller decision back in 2010, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was Heller too. So we have that right there. So we know where they stand, and there's a lot of people saying, well, they're not going to try to do anything radical. I'm taking them at their word that they're going to do everything radical. It might be a Georgia election, but it's not going to just affect Georgia. What happens in Georgia will shape the country and especially if they pack the court, not only for this generation, for our kids' generation.
Every 4 years they say this is the most important election of our lifetimes. You have to vote. Well, I believe that this runoff election is literally the most important election of our lifetime, of my lifetime, because of the stakes. The stakes have never been higher. And that's why the anti-gunners are pouring so much money into the state. AOC was on Fox, I believe it was Fox News or some network, saying that she will be in Georgia campaigning. Now, I haven't seen her, thankfully, but she's coming down to campaign, and that actually might be a turnoff. And I hope that would actually hurt the Democrats. But but they're coming down to campaign. Look, this is another thing I've been saying. The Second Amendment, if you care about it, it's worth fighting for, right? It is worth, coming down, if you're able to, coming down to Georgia and knocking a few doors. It's worth doing an hour a week making phone calls. It's worth, if you got the money, giving a few dollars to whoever you want, right? I don't want to come and beg for money. But if you want to give it to GOA and what we're doing here, we would greatly appreciate it. If you wanted to give it to Lafner or Perdue, that's how you feel your money's better spent, do something. But we just, complacency and apathy is the death of the Second Amendment, and we just can't sit this out. If you cherish the right to keep them in arms, fight for it.
I want to answer a quick question from Mark Young. He wants to know if GOA will be at the Loudoun County public hearing regarding gun-free zones. I spoke at the last one, and I will speak at that one. Loudoun County is my home county, so I take any attack on the Second Amendment in my home county very, very personally. But yeah, so I just wanted to answer that really quick because that did involve my county here. Now, people can help out, and a lot of people say, I don't want to send text messages or I don't want to make phone calls because I don't want people having my number. I don't want to be calling from my number. That's not really an issue, is it? Because the system that we use.
Yes. So the system that we use is actually an app you download on your phone, and it's all preloaded into to a call list, and you won't even know the numbers you're calling, right? So you go through the list, and it's an automatic dialer. You just touch the button, and it will dial the issue for you. We have a script that you can use, and everything is planned out for you. We guide you through every step, and we will train you how to do it. So it's really easy if you could just commit maybe an hour or just whatever your schedule allows for. But no, you're not giving out your own number. You're not, calling, strangers or in the sense from your own personal number. It's all coming from GOA and masked like that.
Yeah, if you've ever worked at a store or anything, it's basically the same thing. You're just starting a conversation with a stranger and you have a script. It's very, very simple. Anyone can do it and anyone should do it. This is the most important election of our time. And it's not even in my state, but this is. I know, like you said, every election year we get told that. But this is it. Not only for our future, but our kids' future. The courts are the most important thing here, and they will pack them. Do you want a radical agenda like an AOC agenda? Or a radical agenda like the Feinstein on guns? Or do you want freedom? I think that's what it comes down to. People say that I'm a single issue voter. And I agree with them. But that issue isn't guns. That issue is liberty. And we have a choice this time. We can either get involved and help our brothers and sisters in Georgia, or we can sit back and do nothing. There's been a lot of apathy in the gun world when it comes to elections. What do you say to the people who are like apathetic about elections and guns? They say, the Republicans, they don't really care or whatnot. What do you say to that?
I say what I've been saying all along. If you care, If you care, it's time to step up. I'm done asking nicely, right? I'm doing everything I can do. If you truly believe in this cause, and it's just not a hobby, right, that you do, it's something that you hold dearly, which I believe people sincerely do, then it's time to step up. It's time to take action. And I know people's schedules and Thanksgiving's coming up and we got all these issues and business of life, and we're in a pandemic. I get it, right? But this is the future of the Second Amendment of our country. Whether we want to go into the socialist utopia that the anti-gunners talk about and how wonderful that is, and being sarcastic, by the way, or if we want to hold on to what freedoms that we have left, right, and then work on reclaiming those freedoms in the future, because right now it's a defensive battle, right? And then in 2022 we need to work on putting pro-gunners in the majority in the House, and then in 2024 we need to elect a pro-gun president, right? This is the turning point, right? Because if they win this election, there'll be nothing to reclaim because we've lost our rights. And once we have lost rights, it is so hard to get it back. It's extremely hard to get it back. And this is another thing I was talking with Tim Harmson about Military Arms Channel is once they pass something, even if it is struck down in the courts, oftentimes the damage has already been done, right? Look at the bump stock issue, right? GOA is suing, the Trump administration, the presidency, the DOJ over bump stocks, right? Let's say that we are successful and we win it, when the case is finally finished, right? Well, sadly, people have been informed to either destroy their bump stock or turn it in, or they're a felon in wait until the case is overturned. So vastly, and I know people who decided to destroy their bump stocks. That's the decision they had to make. But that is, the damage has already been done by that point, even if we win the case. And I believe that if an assault weapon ban or something like that went through, then that would be, the damage would already be done, even if we win it in the courts somehow. So that's why we can't pass it. And that's another reason why GOA spends so much time in the legislative process. Rather, we are very active in the courts. We do a lot in the courts, but our main focus in the legislative process, because once something becomes law, it's very, very hard to get that overturned, especially getting out without any damage being done. So that's what we fight so hard for.
Yeah, one of the things that the Biden administration wants to do is ban the sale of guns online. Not only guns, but gun-related products, parts, forward grips, magazines. Ban that all online. And I think that's a violation of the Constitution. And even if it does make it to the Supreme Court and they overturn that, it's going to take years to get there. And while it's winding its way through the courts, companies like Palmetto State Armory, Brownells, Midway, they're all going to go out of business. So the damage really will be done. Think about if they banned ARs. Think about how many AR companies out there will go out of business. Let's say in like 5 years it gets overturned. If I had a conversation with someone who claimed to be pro-gun, they're like, oh, we'll just take it to the courts. It's like, well, in 5 years, all the companies that made the products won't be around anymore. Look at Slide Fire. Slide Fire is not around anymore. So even if they overturn the bump stock ruling, those companies are gone forever. So, do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. I agree. And those people's livelihoods, those are jobs. People work for these companies and fed their families, but of course anti-gunners don't care about that, right? Joe Biden says he's gonna bring jobs back and everything. What about the jobs you're gonna kill by shutting down the gun industry, right? Which is a huge industry. Anti-gunners don't care about that. They don't care about freedom. They care about control and power.
Is there any way to reach out to like the Democratic politicians that are in the Senate, or is that a lost cause?
I think GOA, if we're in that situation, we certainly would try. And what most likely would happen is we would target, specific politicians. Perhaps someone like Joe Manchin comes to mind. He likes to walk the line as a blue dog Democrat, but in my personal opinion, I don't really believe he's pro-gun. I think he will do what Schumer says he's going to do. But we would probably target individuals like that. But again, if it is a 50-50 split, it is extremely difficult to stop something or peel a Democrat off, just because of how radical the Democrat Party has been on guns.
Yeah, they really have been really radical on guns. It's almost like that there's some billionaire out there that's giving them all money to be radical on guns.
I wonder who that could be.
I don't know. Talking about Michael Bloomberg, he lost big in Texas. And I know Rachel Malone from GOA was down there doing God's work in Texas. And GOA had a lot to do with getting out the vote in Texas. Will that be repeated in Georgia, where we can actually push back and win?
Well, I'm no Rachel Malone. She is a rock star, but we're doing our best down here, and like I say, GOA is a grassroots organization, right? When we're at lobbying on Capitol Hill, we're depending on your phone calls and your emails to back us up, right? And this is a similar situation. The more people we have to door knock and make phone calls and reach people, the more voters we can contact. And I haven't showed this yet, but we have this literature, which I think is pretty powerful. It explains a lot of the things we've been talking about, breaks down the candidates' views on gun rights. The more of these we can get it into people's hands and hopefully get them to the polls to vote for Kelly Lafler or David Perdue. It's a very scalable thing. The more people we have, the more people we can reach, and the more effective we can be.
Yeah. Chris Ramos also brings up a point that that Biden wants to use smart guns, which is incredibly stupid. I don't know if anybody ever used a fingerprint reader, but they never work on me. I have to do it like 5 or 6 times before I get to work, and I don't want to be in a situation where my life is in danger and have to worry about a fingerprint reader and micro stamping and all these crazy ideas that just don't work. And I think the point of them introducing stuff like that is they know it doesn't work. And I think that's the whole entire point, is because they see that as a way of saying, hey, we're compromising, but they're really not. And plus, what the Democrats call compromising, I don't call compromising. A compromise is you get something, I get something. What they're doing is saying, I get this amount of your rights, and you get to keep this little sliver of rights until I decide I want that too. Then I'll come back and get that.
Yeah, a lot of times what they'll do is anti-gunners will. I'll pull up a good example from this last Congress. The whole gun community was freaking out about a bill, HR 5717, which ironically is very similar to Joe Biden's gun control plan. I don't know if a lot of people caught on to that. But the whole gun community was freaking out.
It's almost like someone wrote it. It's almost like the same person wrote it.
Yeah. I wonder if there's someone behind all this stuff, right? But so the whole gun community is focused on that radical gun control, and then that opens the door for them to slip something that a little under the radar, slip that through. And then you're worse off than what you were, because you were focused on this nasty bill that didn't even have a chance to pass in Nancy Pelosi's Congress. And then they can pass other gun control while you're not watching. Thankfully, we kept an eye out on the rest of it. And no gun control made it out of the Senate in this past Congress, I believe. But you have to look at that. And also with gun control, a lot of times they'll put something really bad up, they'll take it back, make it a little less bad. That was the whole Manchin-Toomey deal, right? With universal background checks. That was supposed to be the compromise of all compromises. And thankfully, GOA was very instrumental in shutting that down back in 2013. But that's why GOA has this approach of no compromise. We will never give an inch on the right to keep and bear arms. Because if you let them have an inch, they will take a mile.
Yeah, that's true. At 2,000 subscribers, we're giving away this Mantis X10 Elite, which is an awesome device, which will probably be illegal if Joe Biden gets his way to buy online. Yeah, the left or the anti-gun people, they seem to have this philosophy that the Bill of Rights is this living, breathing document. And I say the Bill of Rights because I'm specifically targeting those first 10 amendments. What I like to call them is a bill of negative liberties. Not negative liberties for you or me, but negative liberties for the government, saying that you are absolutely under no circumstances allowed to touch these rights because these rights are inalienable. They're from God or your creator or whoever you want to say, nature, I don't know. But they're not the government's to take, and they're not the government to give permission to exercise. It's saying these rights already exist. They're human rights. And this is just to affirm that you can never touch these rights. The rest of the amendments, like the 13th and whatever, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, whatever, you can argue those. 13th, not so much, but you can argue like the rest of them, prohibition, for example. But the first 10 are not flexible. You cannot write an amendment to get rid of the First Amendment. It doesn't work that way because that's why they're the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, and you look back at the Federalist debates and the Anti-Federalist debates, and some argued to not even have a Bill of Rights because they said that would limit the rights that we have. And honestly, in my personal belief, I'm grateful we have a Bill of Rights that explicitly states, we have more rights than these, but these are ones, super important ones, we want to make sure the government has no business touching upon. I believe that if we didn't have a Second Amendment, even though we still have the same exact God-given right to keep and bear arms for our self-defense, I believe the way it is protected would be a lot more difficult. So I'm very grateful that the founders had the wisdom to not give us that right, but to enshrine that right.
Yep. Thank you for the money, Joe Drag. He says, no quarter for tyrants, which is my motto of a patch I did a while ago, and a flag and everything else. Yeah, you bring up a good point where during the Federalist, Anti-Federalist debates, they debated whether they should even have a Bill of Rights. And one of the reasons why they debated that is because they thought no one's going to take away these rights. No one's going to try to take away these rights. Why waste time on them? But our forefathers had the knowledge that there will be some people that will try to take advantage of it. So I'm really, really glad that they did that. I don't know how to get through to the anti-gun side without dumping a lot of money. I bring up Dan Gross. Dan Gross was the president of the Brady organization for 20 years. And he was very, very anti-gun until he started doing research himself. And then he became pro-gunish, not GOA pro-gunish, but maybe NRA pro-gunish. But yeah, so he became pro-gun. I asked him straight out, I was like, with all the information out there, with all the statistics out there that prove that our side is the right side of history, why are these groups so anti-gun? His answer was they have a fundamental hatred for the right to bear arms. So a lot of these people you're not going to get through to by talking to them. But there are a lot of people in the middle on the fence that even if you talk to the people and have a conversation with the people that are anti-gun, the people that are on the fence will hear you. And you might be able to bring those over.
The challenge we have, John, is I think 2020, if there's been a year to show why you need a gun, 2020 is it. We have a pandemic, We've had massive unrest and riots and massive gun sales, right? Now, sadly, I don't think all of the new gun owners connected the dots that, there's one political party that is, against you to have that right, and generally another political party that does, and I don't know if they voted on their guns, all of them. Sadly, that's why we're in the situation we're in. But that's what I hope and pray, that the new gun owners in Georgia this year will realize that if you care about, if you bought an AR-15 this year, you cannot vote for Warnock and Osloff. They don't want you to have that. They hate that you own that, and they don't want you to defend yourself. They want you to be reliant on the government, and that's what's at stake.
Yeah, Mark Young says, would it be more appropriate to say they have a fundamental hatred of freedom? And I think it might be. Yeah, we are not the only ones that are in Georgia, but I feel that we are doing a lot in Georgia. In fact, there is a couple Black Guns Matter classes that we are sponsoring with Maj. And I talk to Maj every other day probably, and he is a big libertarian, but he is big on getting Kelly Lafner and David Perdue elected, because he realizes how anti-gun the other people will be. The bringing to Maj of Georgia, I think that was already planned before the election, at least for one stop. Atlanta, am I right?
Yes, and we have 2 events with him planned. I believe the Atlanta event is on the 30th of November, and then the following day we have an event in Savannah on the 1st of December. So, GOA loves Maj. We love the message that he brings. We love his ability to reach, perhaps you could call it your non-typical gun owner. But we want to champion him and the message he does. And, we think he could really assist us greatly in Georgia. And I look forward to those events coming up.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing that GOA needs right now is people to door knock. Am I right? If you're in Georgia?
Absolutely. We need people to make voter contact.
Have you been working with any other YouTubers in Georgia?
Yes. So the YouTube community, the gun tuber community, whatever you want to call it, has been super friendly. I visited with Iraq veteran. He lives in Georgia. I did a video with him the other day. That was a really cool experience. And Eric, what you see on camera is how he is in person, and he was very helpful to put out the word. He's plugged me into some other resources here locally. I've been talking with Kevin Dixie. Also, he's a new Georgian, but he's also being very helpful as well. I did a live stream with Tim Harmson this last week. And also with Hank Strange, I was on with him. So I'm very grateful to the whole, gun tubers, wherever you call them, and you, John, for helping us to share their platform. I was on with Concealed Nation as well last week. So I'm doing everything I can to get the word out. And like I said, now is the time to step up.
Yeah, I've been doing a few shows. In fact, I'm doing another show, and then in like a little bit over an hour, we're going to be talking about Georgia.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, you have been like going balls to the wall to get on these shows and stuff. I know Rachel Malone's been out there as well. Alan from GOA. It seems like everyone from GOA has been everywhere about this.
Look, GOA stepping up, right? We are putting forward the work and the effort we're putting in. That's why we need everyday gun owners to join us, right? When I heard that the election was called for Biden, I know there's controversy, but when I saw that, I had a really awful feeling in my gut, and I saw how the Senate was shaping, and as soon as I realized that, I was like, I got to go to Georgia. I have to go to Georgia because, I promised myself I'd leave nothing on the table this election season. And, I did a lot of door knocking in my home area during the election for pro-gun candidates like Mark Robinson and Dan Forrest.
You got elected, Mark Robinson.
I helped to elect them. And that's outside of my job at GOA, which is obviously very political and everything. And not to brag on myself, but guys, I do not want to leave it on the table. I want to say to my kids in that election, that 2020 runoff election, I gave it all. And no matter how it turns out, I'm leaving that in God's hands. I am working as if it depends on me, but ultimately it depends on God. And that is my prayer and hope that God has mercy on us. But I'm not backing out. I'm giving it my all.
Yeah, you have an open invite for Shooting Gallery New England, their show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are really giving it your all. It's Thanksgiving Day weekend. Thanksgiving weekend a week. Sorry, and you're down in Georgia. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thankfully I do have some family down here, so I will be spending Thanksgiving with family. But I was also looking forward to hunting season. Not gonna hunt nearly as much as I would have normally, but that's okay. This is more important than hunting, right? This is far greater, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, you've been burning the midnight oil, and I want to thank you for that. Another thing that people don't realize, a little bit behind the scenes here, the Monday after the election, we started brainstorming about how to defend Georgia because we saw what it was going to be like. And I think it was your idea to rent the house down there.
Yeah. Might have been my wife's idea, but yeah, we were like, we just don't need to come here for a photo op. We needed to, we need to have a serious on the ground presence. And I'm planning to be here at least until the 18th. We'll probably come back after Christmas, but we're in a house, and I believe, Johnny, you're planning to come down with us.
Yes, I'll be down.
Excellent.
I'll be down. I need to go down and tell my wife, look, I need to go down to defend liberty, which seems kind of melodramatic, but it's actually true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we will be down. I'll bring patches. So anybody wants to go door knock with me on I think it's the 12th or the 14th or something like that, I'll give you a free patch.
So we are planning some days of action, and we're door knocking all the time, right? We're door knocking nearly every day of the week. But we are planning some coordinated days of action, and that is we have two of them planned currently. One is December 5th. We plan to be in the Atlanta area as well as in Savannah. And we will meet up. We will train you how to door knock. There's an app for door knocking as well. Essentially, you pull up the house on your app. You walk up to the door with one of these flyers. You knock. You take several steps back because we're in a pandemic. And then if someone comes to the door, you just ask them, "Hey, I'm Jordan with Gun Owners of America, and we're wondering if we can count on your vote for Kelly Lafner and David Perdue to save the Second Amendment." And they say yes or no. If they say no, then I like to say, well, would it change your mind if Chuck Schumer is the majority leader and passes significant gun control? Would that change your mind? They say yes or no, and you give them the literature and you move on to the next one. It's as simple as that. And you just mark it on the app. But it's a really simple thing, and why we do this is it really makes a difference because that voter knows that people care enough about this election to come to their house and talk to them about it, right? That is huge in voter contact, right? It's much more powerful than seeing a social media ad or a radio ad or a TV ad. And trust me, nearly every TV station and radio station right now in Georgia has political ads running on it. I was eating in a Mexican restaurant. They had I think it was some sports channel on, and every channel, the commercial break was a Perdue ad or Lafner ad or going back and forth, and they're all nasty. But voter contact in person is huge, and it really makes the difference. It's interesting, and I take this example from the other side, but when AOC primaried the Democrat incumbent, I remember a tweet from her of her shoes that she wore out because she knocked doors and she made voter contact, and that's how she got elected, right? But the thing is, that just doesn't work for leftists. Political technology is neutral. So as gun owners and pro-gunners or conservatives or libertarians, whatever you call yourself, we can use that too. And that's why we're doing this, because we are doing radio ads and TV ads or those other type of ads as well. But we know the true grit is in-person door knocking, and that's why we're putting out the call.
I remember when I was doing my political science class back in college. It was actually a government class of political science. Now that I remember, Professor Hecklow at George Mason University, he talked about the power of making contact with someone, and he was talking about how they did a study and they broke it down into monetary value. And this is back in late 90s, because I'm old. I'm not a young chicken like you, Jordan.
Yeah.
And he broke it down. This is like 96. And he said that they figured out that each contact that you made with a person is an average of about $300 worth of advertising that you just saved.
Wow. I didn't know that, but that's incredible. And I'll tell you what, there's no way GOA has the money to spend that much per person. So by you volunteering your time, and you probably inflate that from 1990s money to today's money, that's probably $600 or $700 or whatever. But that's incredible, and that just shows the value of in-person voter contact. It truly goes the extra mile.
Okay. There's one other question that you got a couple of times, and I kind of missed it. I didn't miss it. I just ignored it because it had nothing to do with the election. But since we're coming up to the hour, I wanted to go ahead and ask it for people out there. People want to know: are you selling weight loss products now?
That's funny. I've been fortunate to lose a little bit of weight, and I think it's been a good thing. It's just all diet, and
walking.
If you're really interested, contact me. I'll tell you my diet. But
it has people walking neighborhoods too.
Yeah. Walking neighborhoods is the greatest exercise program ever. The more doors you knock, you lose a pound every door you knock, right? So that's how I've lost all my weight, is knocking doors, right?
I'm trying to set you up for that, Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, so people can go to the website gunowners.org/volunteer, and they can sign up for phone calls, walking, and texting, I believe.
Right now, we have door knocking and phone calls.
Door knock. Any option to add texting?
We're considering that right now. That's a whole other ballgame to do with texting, but we're also looking at adding more locations for our days of action and more days of action. But these things are also kind of fluid right now. So we're more things will be added as they come about. But right now we just need you to sign up. A little bit of patience always helps as well. But I do believe the people who've signed up, especially for phone calls, are already being contacted today. So stay tuned for your inbox and start putting in the work.
Yeah. Okay. One of the people are asking, the website is for signing up for door knocking as well, right? They sign up and then they get the information.
There's boxes you check, right? So you can put in your information, and then it says either I want to make phone calls or knock doors. You check the box, and you tell us which one you want to do. You can, if you're obviously if you want to knock doors, you need to physically be in Georgia, but that should be pretty self-evident. So.
Or plan on going to Georgia.
Plan on traveling.
Yeah, that's one thing. I'm going to bring up the website just so everyone can see it really quick here. So just give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring up Chrome tab. Fight for the Senate. Here it is. It's very, very simple. All you have to do is fill out the information there. There's some days of action listed down here, and you can check either I want to knock on doors and educate voters, or I will make phone calls. So you can check either one of that and hit subscribe, and then you will get information emailed to you.
Correct.
And you get to meet Jordan if you go door knocking.
Yes.
And right here is the 2 days of action. One's on December 5th, starting at 9 a.m., and the other one's on December 12th.
Yep.
Starting at
and we're
9.
working on expanding those and perhaps adding locations. We're looking at the Athens area, so getting some details there, and the specifics will be emailed to you. So, we appreciate the patience, but we're working very diligently on getting all those details set up.
And it's gunowners.org/volunteer.
Yep.
Anything? We're about to get out of here. I'm going to give you the last word. Let me just make sure there's any more questions here before we get out of here. All right, cool. Looks like from out of state, we could send a pro-gun message. A bunch of people via FedEx. Doors for us. It just cost a lot of gas. Yes, it would. Okay. So I'm going to give you the final word, but before we get out of here, I want to thank TUSC. They're a new sponsor. If you go to TUSC.NETWORK, they're a cryptocurrency focused solely on guns and gun sales, because one of the things that they're going to do, you can see a lot more actions like the infamous Operation Choke Point, where they tried to shut down banks dealing with guns. And we're going to see a lot more of that, but they can't shut down cryptocurrency. So that's where TUSC comes in. And that's why I chose them to be one of my sponsors on the show. Anyone who sponsors me is stuff I use or stuff I believe in. And TUSC, I definitely believe in. And we signed a contract for a 6-month period. So they will be with us for the next 6 months. Also, 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. You get a John Crump 2 on YouTube, because I know a lot of you guys are watching this on Facebook or Periscope or one of the other places where we broadcast that, but most of our chat is in YouTube. And you can get a Mantis 10X Elite. I know sometimes chats come through from other sources, but I don't know. The program we use is mostly YouTube centric, so most chats don't come through unless they're from YouTube. All right. Thank you for the compliments about the good discussion. TUSC, Swamp Dog Armory. I think they're going to be starting to accept TUSC later. And Jordan, tell people out there whatever you want to tell them. You have the final word.
All I gotta say is you need to subscribe to John Crump. You need to support him on Patreon. You need to support his sponsors, because this man is a 2A champion. He is a hero with all the articles he writes, with all the FOIAs he files, with all the work he does with GOA. You need to be sure he has the resources to do that as well. So
I do want to say one thing. All the money I raise on Patreon through Super Chats and everything go to my niece who's suffering from brain cancer. And personally, whatever money you guys donate, I actually match to go to support kids. They have these I think it's Compassionate International, where you can adopt kids overseas. So whatever you donate goes to my niece. Then I take other money and whatever that is.
Look at that. Your money is going to a good cause.
It's going to a good cause.
All I gotta say, I've harped on the volunteering enough. All I gotta say is to support John, because he puts in the work and he deserves it.
Thank you so much for that, Jordan. That means a lot to me. I guess I'm not fired.
Well, I hope to see you soon, John.
Oh yeah, you definitely will. Send me some turkey for when I get down there, okay?
All right, I'll save you some.
Out of there, Jordan, just stick around for 1 second and we are gone.